What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 8 of the Ultimate Bloodborne walkthrough. Today we're going to be visiting the Forbidden Woods, and we're going to split this zone into 2 segments. So we're going to go through a big majority of it, but when we get to the area that's got all those annoying snake creatures, that's where we're going to stop and pick that up on another episode. Alright, so let's go ahead and start off by hitting the Yharnam headstone here. And we're going to go to Cathedral Ward. Alrighty. So we'll just go ahead. Hang a left here. We'll go up these stairs. Obviously we've been through these zones before, but we have to do some backtracking to get to where we want to go. Don't worry about that guy on the left. You really don't need to fight anything in this zone if you don't want to. But, of course, some of this stuff is going to be fairly easy for us. So if you want to go ahead and grab some free, cheap blood echoes and whatnot, you can. We just need to get by this guy. Like I said, pretty easy kill, so you might as well go ahead and take advantage of that. There's a brain sucker over here. They are pretty annoying. So you just want to be ready to attack them as quickly as possible. Now I was kind of walking to allow myself to talk so you wouldn't have to hear all this noise while I'm trying to explain what to do, but if you're going through this hallway, you're just going to want to sprint through and turn the corner and attack him, and they won't be able to get that swing on you. Or you can just skip them all together and go down this direction, and you're going to head through this opening and talk to the NPC here on the left. Okay, so obviously this guy wants to get to Cainhurst Castle. We'll eventually be able to do that for him. And that's going to come up in about a few episodes from now, I would say. There's no threat down here, so you can continue on without any worries. We now have the password to open up this door, so this is why we're coming here. This NPC is a little bit wonky. Sometimes they take a really long time to request a password from you. So if they're not doing anything, just try to press X a couple times and it might speed up the process. I absolutely love this. I love this right here. This is just hilarious to me. It's like, well, he was just speaking to me a second ago. Alright, so just gonna make our way down this spiral staircase here. And this is blocked off. I can't help it but kind of explore whenever I play these games. It always feels like maybe there's something that I don't know about, but I've pretty much explored everything there is to find in these zones before making these guides, so I'm pretty confident we're going to find everything that we're looking for. You can drop down here, but I don't suggest it. There's no benefit to it. You just take damage for no reason. I mean, if you were maybe speedrunning this zone, you would definitely consider doing that there, but again, for us, for our purposes, there's no true benefit to dropping down there. I'm trying not to sprint through these zones, even though I know how to navigate them. I think moving at a slower pace allows you guys to see what's going on. So if we went from above, this is where we would drop down to. So as you can see, no need to drop down and take that damage. This guy right in front of us throws oil urns, so you want to be careful about that. So what we're going to try to do when this other big boy comes walking back is we're going to hit him with a pebble. We want to face them solo. Awesome. There we go. He didn't really give a shit about that. Alright, so now just run right at... Okay. Couldn't move through that guy. Just take him out. Easy. Almost everything you kill that's humanoid is gonna drop loot. So it's always worth it to check it out, see what you can get. Alright, so let's go ahead and Explore up here. There's going to be an executioner. I think that's what they're called. Let them come to you. Throw a pebble just to make sure they're interested. Get in there, try to deal some damage. They're not as tough as they were when you first found them. You're much stronger than the olden days, so you don't need to be so intimidated as you used to be. Their moveset is still pretty complicated, like, but just as long as you stand your ground, you can deliver that critical gunfire blast, and it's gonna definitely do more than trade the health loss. Assuming you can get in fast enough to deal the damage for the regain period. Alright, so you've got all your stuff from this little corner here. We can go forward. Now, if you're not as confident fighting that enemy and you want to visit the lamppost first, you can. It's just right here in front of us. You can see it, that blue light off in the distance. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do a better job of making those a little bit easier to see. Because, I mean, look how small that light is. If you weren't staring at it right now, it'd be super easy to not notice that thing. So go ahead and light the lamp. You obviously don't need to travel back to the Hunter's Dream. That's something that you might make a mistake of if you play Dark Souls a lot and jump back and forth between these games. You might think that you want to rest there, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. It takes you back to the dream. Can't open this. Whoa, shit. Forgot about that. That's how they get you. Alright, so we'll open that towards the end of the episode. That's where we're basically going to finish off. Antidote's going to be real important for us in this zone. And there's also an Attire set that's going to give us enhanced poison resist. That's going to be very important for us also. Alright, so you can see sometimes you just don't get the interrupting blow like you expect. You know, the timing looked right for me there, but it just didn't work out. That's alright. You just got to be aware that you need to go in immediately after that. There's a reason I waited for this enemy to come over this bridge hump to engage them instead of just rushing them. Because obviously it's not a difficult enemy. But that rifleman right there is exactly why we took that approach. So there's a booby trap right here. I'm going to show it to you just so you can see how this thing works. It's really deadly. I wouldn't suggest stepping on this unless you're just trying to have some fun. But if you do, you're going to want to immediately run to the right. Because not only does it roll, but it flies off of that thing. So I remember backstepping this the first time I activated the trap and thinking that I was a boss. Like I just did something really cool and quick thinking. And then the fucking log bursts off the chains and kills me anyway. So yeah, I would just avoid it. There's really no benefit to knocking it off. And we'll start off by going to the right here. We want to take care of this enemy first. Always want to take care of the larger hunters if you can. And it's been a minute since we've played, so I will forget some of the proper names for these creatures. I'm sure they're not called hunters, but okay, so we've got some dogs there. We want to take care of the dogs first. You never want to fight dogs and a bunch of people at the same time. It just makes for a real difficult fight. So whenever you've got the high ground, multiple enemies, I'm always going to suggest a Molotov cocktail, especially if you can target the middle one and nothing's moving. You might be able to get a 3-for-1. Alright, so unfortunately, only got one. Damaged the other one, but the dog is still there. If you've got throwing knives or your gun is good ranged, you can take advantage of that. So let's see if they actually come up here or not. Okay, so the dog is just going to chill. Oh, that also works. So if you get that aggro here, go ahead and walk it towards these flames. Nice little Dark Souls trick as well. I'm going to suggest from the top here, dropping down and killing these enemies going from right to left. It's going to be a little bit easier that way because you can bait them one at a time. So when we take the fall damage here, we're going to roll at the end of it. And just go ahead and get to your pebbles. It's funny, you would think the stagger mechanic would have worked on the first swing and not the torch swing. It's a little interesting how that plays out sometimes. Okay, so the shield guy went roaming a little bit. There he is. Shield dude's pretty simple. If you want to, if you're not comfortable with how patient you need to be, go ahead and get the long range and then charge it up. Sorry about that, my controller lost connection for a moment. Let's go ahead and kill this guy. Kill this guy. You can see how easy it is when you approach it from this direction, because they're not going to turn and face you. Another axe enemy. Charge up. I love the long range charge because it just does that knockback effect. It's really cool to watch. Alright. Gonna go ahead and backtrack a little bit just to grab all the rest of this loot. I think that's good besides any of the enemy loot. Yup. So let's go pick this up. Want to make sure that we didn't leave anything over here. This is the direction we're headed anyway, so. Alright, so we are going to go this way for a moment. I just want to show you something. So this platform here will crumble underneath you. There's absolutely no reason we want to go this way. We're going to take fall damage. We'll end up in the village below, and it's going to put us in a detrimental state. So we don't want to be approaching from that direction. So go through this little flower field here. You'll want to take out the big boy first. Always try to deal with these guys before you approach anything else. I'm really not sure why the first one didn't work. Again, the timing and stuff with parries and counterattacks. I mean, I'm not the best at it. I'd consider myself pretty good at it. But I feel like sometimes it's not worth the risk. But in this game, it's absolutely worth the risk because of regain. So don't worry about if you're like not very accurate at landing those counterattacks and those critical attacks, because landing just one, maybe you fail 2 or 3 times, but landing one will regain almost all of that health, if not all of it. So it allows you to stand your ground and be a lot more patient than you would in other scenarios. Alright, so there in the middle of this area here is another trap, so just walk to the side of it. If you go through this brush here, you've got absolutely no worries. We're immediately going to go to the right, and we've got 2 enemies to kill. I usually take out the ranged enemy first. The riflemen are very obnoxious to deal with in general, so they're if I can get to them first, I will. Alright, so one of these guys starts roaming before any of them. It is this one, and then there's also... Yep, so he's stationary already. Everybody else is set, so he's the only roamer right now. We want to get their attention. Remember, we talked about this in one of the earlier episodes. When an enemy misses, if you attack fast enough while it's still recovering from the miss, you actually deal more damage. So you've got this guy standing against the wall here with the pitchfork, and then you've got an enemy slumped over there. So obviously deal with the immediate threat first. Then turn and deal with this one. Go ahead and grab your loot. And essentially you want to deal with this zone by sticking to the right side and progressing that way. So we've got this opening through the building here. This zone in the middle is all a trap. If you fall through that, there's some carrion crows down there. And there is an item. I can't really recall what the item is. I didn't intentionally fall in there. But it can't be worth it. But if you want to get absolutely everything, you can definitely pursue that. So this is the boards that I was talking about earlier, where we said we didn't want to step on because they'll obviously break. Drops us down here. We take health damage. And then we're kind of in the middle of this place. So if we go forward and try to kill these guys, we fall in that trap. If we go to the right and try to kill the stronger enemy, the rifleman and the roaming guy might see us. So you just kind of want to play it from the entrance that I took. It's the best route. We can pull this one with a pebble. I haven't ever tried to see if they can make the trap fail. I guess the trap wouldn't fail. The trap would succeed, but I don't know if the monster will trigger the trap. We can try that with these other enemies here. So let's see if we can reach them with a pebble. Whatever. I tried for science. Didn't work out. Okay, so you can hear these sounds. Don't get worried about that. That's nothing that can hurt you right now. We can't open this gate yet, but this is going to be key in us backtracking through this area as well. So that lantern that that lamppost that we lit early in the episode, that's the only one for this zone. So it's very important that you get a better understanding of where we are in the zone and take it methodically so you can learn the zone, because if you happen to die here, you need to know where you are and how to get back to it. It's not a convenient zone whatsoever. It's very, very confusing. I'm going to go ahead and kill these guys. Pretty easy rush in. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. That's okay. See, my problem there was, and I make this mistake sometimes, I was running in when I changed my weapon. See, I wanted to basically use it in long range so I could do a sweeping attack and kill both of them at once. But I forgot that while you're moving and doing that transition, it just takes way too long. It doesn't work out as well, so could have done that beforehand. Would have saved myself a blood vial. No problem though. Here's the last roamer. God damn it, I thought I was still on the length. By the way, I knew this episode is going to be full of these kind of moments because it's been probably a month or longer since we last worked on the series. To be completely transparent, I've been dreading this episode probably as much as you could ever dread an episode. And it's not really for this part of the guide, it's for the next part, the part that I'm splitting up into the part 2. Because the zone with the snakes is just absolutely god-awful. It's not that it's difficult, it's just so time-consuming and everything looks absolutely the same that it's really, really difficult to teach you guys how to navigate it. I wish we didn't have to do that, I really did. Alright, so here is what I'll call Oil Lake, maybe? Oil River. We don't want to go through here. We've got a better way to go about this. So, let's see here. We've killed everything and we've looted everything in this little town here. So we're going to go back the way we came. And we're going to circle around the outside of this town. So this is the front gate with the trap in front of it. So now what we're going to do is go around here. And you can get through all of this doing the entire guide as I'm explaining it pretty quickly. As long as you don't die. If you die, it really sets you back because, like I said, you've only got that one lamp post, and it just takes forever to get to where you need to be. Want to kill these dogs immediately. If you don't kill them now, they'll be released, and then you'll have to deal with them later. Obviously, dogs are really difficult when they're on the loose, especially 4 of them. Go ahead and speak to this building here. Alright, so we get the Tonsil Stone. Interesting voice, by the way. Wink, wink. Alright, so... I'm trying to remember, I think the Tonsil Stone... maybe a key item? Yeah, okay. So, a latticed, deformed rock, or perhaps a meteorite, appears useless, but possesses some odd gravitational force that prevents its riddance. A dubious soul once said, "Step lightly round to the right of the great cathedral and seek an ancient shrouded church. The gift of the Godhead will grant you strength." So, I don't want to spoil this yet. It's content to come. Something to look forward to. All right. So we've got this gate here. If we approach it, it's going to get released. I actually haven't tried to sprint through there. I believe you probably could, just by how slow we were moving towards it. But it's not a big deal at all. I actually wanted that to close just to show you, in case. All right, so there's an area around to the left that we're going to go to in a moment. But first, I want to deal with the rest of this zone ahead of us. There's a couple dogs and these carrion crows. Usually, I like to extend the weapon when I deal with carrion crows. I know there's some up on top of the roof, so I'm going to do that now. Like the mistake we made earlier, we didn't have the axe extended. Now with carrion crows, you want to be running, so you can get that low lunging attack. It's way better than trying to do like a long extended backswing, because that's when they jump up off the ground and deal their damage. So this is a very important armor set or attire set for us, specifically for this zone. It's essential. It's going to help with the poison mitigation. So it's called the White Church attire. One thing, if you hadn't noticed, when you wear an armor set, the hood, the chest, the legs, the gloves, they're all in the same location relative to all the others. So if we were to wear the Black Church set, you'll see that it's above the White Church set in each location. So they share the same gloves, but that's why you were seeing that. So this is very good and a nice, easy, convenient way to look for stuff, and it wasn't like that in some of their other games from Soft's games. So it's nice that they put that kind of feature in here. It's helpful. All right, so we're gonna want to deal with the dogs. So keep the axe extended. You'll hear one of them sprint towards us. Again, wide sweep is really good for dogs because they have such good dodge that you just never really know where they're going to end up. So there's no more enemies besides there's a kidnapper around the corner here. I think that's what we'll call it. So what we want to do... Actually, there's this guy. Let's kill him. Oh my god. How did that miss? It was so close. I really hate torches. They're effective. And I'm always stubborn and just try to swing through it. And the torch just is so much faster than these axes. Okay. I know there's nothing here, but God, I just feel like there should be. Makes me doubt myself. We're not going to deal with the bridge enemies yet. What we want to do here is walk very slowly. The kidnapper is faced the opposite direction. You can always tell where they're faced based off of the sack on their back. So get them locked on, and we're going to walk up and charge up an R2. And get another one charged up. And another. The great thing about them is, like, you can see they're very much obvious in what they're going to do. So if you get the advantage where you're definitely going to be able to deal 2 charge up attacks, they're always going to go through that empowerment phase. And that allows you to recover enough energy to deal another devastating attack like that. So absolutely no risk if you approach it the way that we just did. This here is the Beast Roar, and it should be located in, actually, it should be in the consumables, if I remember correctly. And there it is. So we'll read about it. One of the forbidden hunter tools made by irreverent Izzy. Borrow the strength of the terrible undead dark beasts, if only for a moment, to blast surrounding foes back with the force of a roaring beast. The indescribable sound is broadcast with the caster's own vocal cords, which begs the question, what terrible things lurk deep within the frames of men? Kind of like the old hunter bone, it's a unique, and you have to have certain circumstances to use it. We probably won't go through that necessarily in the guide. That's more of a specific item case and a rare use case scenario. Might make separate videos on things like this altogether. All right. So we can go ahead and backtrack now. We'll come back here eventually, but we want to go towards... we did open this up. Okay, good. We want to go back towards that zone here to the right that I was pointing out to you. And now that we have the white attire, this is why we're ready to proceed down here, because we're going to be running through some poisoned water, and we want to make sure that we have this on so we can do our best to mitigate any of that damage. Antidote here, and again, the game gives you some little cues, you know, like you're picking up antidotes. Gee, I wonder why. Well, I'm probably going to need to use them in this zone. So, have your antidotes ready. You're going to need a good supply of blood vials. We have 21, so that's going to be really helpful. There's just those antidotes there, and then you can go ahead and continue down this passageway. I'm not going to suggest jumping, like you can drop down here, but just for the sake of having a better understanding of where we're at in the zone, I'm not going to drop down there. Also, there's going to be some parasite enemies in that zone, in that area there, and you don't want to be stuck with low health dealing with them. So, right here, you'll see these guys with the bell. We're obviously very familiar with this type of enemy. They usually have a weapon. We want to draw them over immediately. We do not want to fight them with the parasites around. So what we want to try to do is get behind them and then deal some charge up. Oh, that's not good. The worst thing that can happen to you is get stomped on. If they stomp on you, they're going to deal a shit ton of damage. Okay. So, you can see I tried to fight them on land. That's the big reason I threw the pebble at them. If we fight them in the water, we're going to take continual poison damage. It's going to eat through our blood vials and our antidotes, so we don't want to do that. This one is a lot more difficult to pull, so we're going to deal with them last. There's going to be an item over here immediately towards our right. I always thought that was really cool right there. That one is pretty calm. So you'll see those enemies here. You wanna... I would try to avoid them if possible. They're pretty easy to navigate through, because they are so slim like that. So once I get out of there, I'm just gonna backtrack. Oh my god. I'm just gonna backtrack so we can recover. So we'll just use our antidote and we'll heal up. So we strictly just ran through there to grab the loot. Really, the rest of this zone in here is just opportunities to grab loot. So you don't really need to kill these creatures. If you can get an opportunity to fight the big boys by themselves, by all means do it. It's definitely worth it. But like this guy, you can see the parasites right there. Like, you do not want to fight them with the parasites around. It's very dangerous. So I'm just going to run through here. Just kind of show you guys what we've got. If you want to take a mini break, you can see they'll come towards you. They're a little bit hard to see, so I suggest just hitting on your targeting every once in a while. So as long as you keep an eye on the poison, you should be okay. So what we want to do is run into this cave right here. And this is only to show you what's actually in here. There's no loot for us to grab. But if we take that ladder all the way up to the top, that leads us to Yosefka's clinic. And it's not the entrance that we're used to, but it's the backside. So we'll go over that. That's actually going to be in a couple episodes to come. So I wanted to point this out to you because we'll be back here later. All right, we don't need to worry about anything else here at the moment. We just want to get clear of this place. So we're going to go back the way we came. Go ahead and get rid of the poison as quickly as we're safe. Now, there's going to be one more item over there, so we'll go ahead and grab that. I don't want to leave you guys questioning what's over here. These absolutely disgusting creatures. And don't be worried about, using so many antidotes. They're not something that we're going to use often. So in these scenarios where you actually need them, just go ahead and take advantage of that. I mean, you can always buy antidotes. There's pretty much any consumable in the game you can buy over and over again. So you don't really need to be too protective of that. All right, so now that we've got that loot, and we'll cross that off of our list, we're going to deal with these enemies over here. So first what we want to do is deal with this guy right underneath us. Alright, so you can see we'd already killed it, but we wanted to take that continual swing because we still had the regain phase open to us. So even though we couldn't possibly hit it again, we still were able to gain a little bit of our health back. So that's obviously important, something that we always want to take advantage of. If you want, just for style, give them the old what fur. And if you do have one of the certain runes on, you can actually benefit from dealing visceral attacks to generate more blood echoes. So that's exactly what I did just there. So we'll have this roamer with the torch. We may get them close enough to draw in, but we'll definitely be able to throw the pebble at the guy with the sword as well. So yeah, they should see us and just come at us. We shouldn't have to draw them. And I usually like to charge up. If I see something like is getting this close to me, I know that even if it hits me, I'm still going to power through and deliver my blow. And that's why we didn't really lose any health there. We just did a pretty strong trade-off. So this is just an easy way to kind of deal with them quickly. We've got this guy behind the trees here. He's actually on the bridge. And there will be another one next to him, I believe. Yeah, behind him there. So you want to be quick with that. Didn't work out. That's okay. We already had about 10 to 15% of our health depleted. Whoa! He didn't die. He has like 1 hit point. Yeah, look at that. Okay, cool. We might even be able to kill him with the pebble. That would be kind of hilarious. Let's go ahead and use a throwing knife. These probably deal about like 60 damage. So we've got that targeted. 80, pretty much. So perfect. Now that dead body right there is absolute perfection. It is like 10 plus 11, 12, I can't remember, Molotov cocktails. And those cocktails are a blessing in this zone. Because you can see below us that water is oily. Yeah, so 11. Perfect. So all we're going to do now is swap out the knives for the cocktails. And we can do work to these really obnoxious enemies right here. They're not... Sometimes they're standing on top of each other, which would have been great here. Doesn't look to be the case. Oh, pebbles. That works too. 3 damage at a time. Okay, so the other one was right next to it, but it was really hard to see where we're standing. So the splash damage, because we're in this oil lake, worked out perfect. Now, like I was saying earlier, this is why we wanted to avoid this zone. And wanted to approach it from up above, because when we're in this water, we take double the fire damage as well. So it's very dangerous for us when these guys are on the roof throwing Molotovs. I usually just kill these with fire, but I kind of want to see, I think if we run towards them and deal... Yeah, almost 2 hits. I do believe they're just going to puke. Puke at range. Not a big deal, obviously. Because the rest of them are pretty much like one at a time, what I'm going to try to do is deal a power-up attack. Alright, it's so low to the ground that it was really hard to hit that. Oh, shit. I don't want to waste Molotovs on single enemies. Unless it's just something very, very, very powerful. So let's go ahead and kill these just to show you what this is here. Remember, this is where we were at the zone where I said, don't go in here. We've got a better way to approach that. Just, again, want to give you a better understanding of where we are in case you do die and have to get back to these places. There's multiple ways to approach them. Some are more dangerous than others. So you have to determine your risk if you want to try to get to your blood echoes, if it's worth it, you know. So just chain together those 3 attacks. It looks like that's going to stagger them each time. We've got the bad boy up here. Looks like they're going to be keeping their back to us, so we should be able to get a sneaky sneak in here. Oh. Still good enough. I think this is a good lesson right here. It looked like we did enough with that single charge up R2 to kill them. Most of the times, if, you know, I was playing by myself or wasn't recording, I would probably walk away from that enemy thinking that I had done the job. But that was a good learning moment there because I threw an R1 after it. Just get in that habit. Unless there's another enemy behind you and you need to do a quick dodge, there's no reason to not throw another swing right after. There's just not. So get in that habit. If you're already in a zone where there's no enemy behind you, go ahead and take that extra swing. Can't hurt. So here we're going to open up this door that I pointed out to you earlier. It's going to connect us back to that town. So this is important because it bypasses that dangerous oil river right here. So here, if you were to die and you went back through this town to try to get past this stuff, you could bypass it completely by taking that shortcut we just opened up. Very important. You'll definitely utilize this if your character dies. Alright, so continue through here. You can see we don't have any enemies focused on us right now, but we do have our eyes on 3 of them. We see the rifleman up top. He's very important to pay attention to. And then the 2 torch guys. We're basically going to bum rush the torch guys and then immediately sprint up and try to kill the rifleman. Oh, sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Okay, that was a total fail, so I'm going to kill the rifleman first. If I had actually done what I'd hoped to, and I didn't slide back down the terrain, it would have been perfect. No problem, though. Oh. And that's kind of another perfect learning moment, really. You can plan attacks and strategies and tactics and what you're going to do, but you have to be ready to immediately improvise and change things, because you're going to mess up a lot. Things are going to fuck up. They're just not always going to go according to plan. We're going to sprint into this opening here. There's no enemies. We're going to grab this loot. Destroy this and that. And this. And that. And then there's going to be that enemy walking with his back and the rifleman. The rifleman will always take notice of you. There's really nothing you can do about that. You want to kill the rifleman first, so allow that enemy to the left to go to that position. You don't want to immediately get in here and rush the rifleman, because that other dude will be in the doorway by the time you get to him. So, the rifleman may hit us. They're going to immediately take aim. So you want to try to time the dodge. Alright. And now I'll explain why we're zigzagging through these buildings. Probably should have done that a second ago, but we can probably get a look at what's going on now. So there you'll see this cannon. You see it to the right of this building. This little shack here. If I move the camera, you can start to see the revealing of the cannon. That is firing upon us if we stand in its line of sight. You might think that these buildings protect you, like this little shack in front of me. It really wouldn't. It'll actually get obliterated. So we're moving from building to building specifically so it loses complete sight of us. I'm not totally convinced that if it fired on these buildings that we would be safe. So that's why I've been taking room to room. Now we could just, like, if we had died and wanted to speed through here, it's totally simple enough to try to get through. So don't be too concerned about doing this if you've died and are just trying to get back to somewhere. But for now, because we want to show you how to get through this safely and also kill any enemies, get any loots, this is how we do it. These guys are obviously easy. They're just laying there. So that's good for us. And this is our last building. Tougher enemy for sure. It's not that these things are tough to kill, but they do more damage. They can pretty much two-shot you in this armor, or this attire. I'm going to say armor a lot. It's a habit, sorry. Now that we're here, we get a very easy vision on this character, and we can go in there and kill him. Now, this guy's pretty strong, actually. He doesn't do a lot of damage, but he takes 3 hits. When you look at him, you would expect him to go down in 1 or 2, but he's actually a little bit stronger. You can use this cannon, but nobody's here anymore, so it's kind of pointless. Sweet. I'm not gonna try to explain how that thing works. I'm not like 100% certain, but I feel like if there's enemies or something that it can actually hit, it's gonna behave in a different way. Alright, so when we get in here, there's gonna be an enemy that we can see across the way. Very convenient that they are well lit. So they're going to walk and just keep walking until they get to the bottom and go to their place. We just want to let them do that. We don't care about what they're doing right now. What we do want to do is go ahead and activate our lantern. If you have one. If you don't worry about it. It's really not essential. But when you're in darkness like this, it's definitely helpful. You can, of course, swap over to your torch if you don't have that. So lantern just allows me to still hold my gun. So we're eventually going to go downstairs, but I want to go ahead and tackle this real quick. So don't be afraid to drop down here. But there is going to be a tough enemy to the left. And I prefer to be at full health when I face these guys because we've come a long way. And there's nothing worse than dying in this kind of location. Stay hugging against the wall, because there's no railings to the right. No railing to the right means you die. So if you time the critical, you're going to definitely kill the enemy. There's nothing here. I know it's tempting to like look over the ledges and stuff, but don't do it. It's not worth the risk. All right, so there's going to be a couple things we're going to grab here. You can see already, if you look down to the right, there's an item there. That's actually the cannon. That's a gun. It's really powerful. We'll get that in a second. We're going to grab this. Poison knife. I think there's another poison knife that we left. Or maybe it's on the... Actually, it's on the outside. Getting ahead of myself. So immediately to the right, we're going to see this guy. You know, when I first discovered this thing, I thought he was an enemy. He's just an NPC. We see all these dead bodies here. He's clearly eating one. If you take the time to actually look at what's going on, it's a little bit confusing. That's why you really wouldn't want to approach and talk to this person, but we're going to do that. All right, so this is an important juncture in your storyline. We just went over how this person is clearly not good. They're covered in blood. They're eating people. There's dead people next to them. They look pretty freshly dead. The blood is just all still here. So you got to believe that this person is responsible, right? So do you send someone like that to Odin Chapel? Or do you tell them to go to Yosefka's clinic? Or do you withhold information? I'm going to tell you what you should do because it's a walkthrough. You should send them to Yosefka's clinic. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so they give us a pungent blood cocktail, which is another little tidbit of information that might kind of reveal what's interesting about them. So the thing is, like I just said, we're playing a walkthrough. So if we come across a situation where I need to tell you something that's essential, I'm going to tell you, but I don't want to spoil things if I don't have to. So if you want to see what outcomes happen by making alternative choices, it's not like a drastic effect. It's not like crazy essential to send him one place or another, but mayhem will occur if you send him to Odin's Chapel. So if you want those NPCs to be happy and safe, don't send them there. Something weird is going on at Yosefka's that we'll soon find out in the next few episodes. So we can send them there and we may see them again because of that. Or we can withhold information and see what happens there as well. That's up to you. All right, so let's go ahead and grab this right here. There's the poison knife that I was alluding to a second ago. And when we walk back in here, now we have the opportunity to grab the cannon. So you can see the cannon a lot easier from this angle. It's pretty simple. You just walk across these cogwheels or whatever we want to call this. Cannon's going to be one of the most powerful weapons. Definitely the most powerful ranged weapon. Going to need a buttload of strength. I'm going to wander around here for a second, find a better place, a more comfortable place to drop down. Probably right. Nope, not here yet. Yeah, we didn't have to wander around at all. I'm an idiot. Right where you loot the cannon, if you just walk off to the right, that's probably your safest bet to drop down. Okay, now we can proceed down. And we've got this gentleman over here with his back towards us. How convenient. We want to slow walk. We don't want them to hear us. Go ahead and get them target locked. We're going to do a charge up attack. If you listen to them, they sound kind of interesting, right? Go ahead and deal another charge up attack. Target lock again so you don't miss. But that's a very strong enemy. I mean, you just saw firsthand. We landed one charge up attack, a visceral attack, and had to land another charge up to kill them. That's the same amount of damage you need to deal to those giants to kill them. So keep that in mind. That's a really, really tough enemy to deal with, right? Okay, so over here is an elevator. We can't use this contraption yet, so we'll get to that in another time. But we will continue forward over here. And we're in for a bit of a tough fight. This enemy, I'm going to suggest using your axe here at extended range. So that's what we were just dealing with. Now, the snakes have the ability to use a range attack as well. So, it's hard to charge up an attack because they close distance so well, but I'm going to try it. Alright, we got really lucky there. So that just made that fight really easy, but it's not always going to work out like that. Basically what you want to be doing is try to get behind them as quickly as possible. If you can deal any kind of staggering damage, definitely deal that. Maybe hit them with an urn and then a Molotov. That should keep them busy for long enough for you to deal more physical damage and take them out. But yeah, they're pretty tough. Alright, so we're relatively safe now. Gonna hang a right here. And we're gonna grab this loot up top. Don't want to go wandering about. I know there's more opportunities to get loot and whatnot, but this zone becomes very confusing. Very, very confusing. Everything looks exactly the same. So before we go anywhere else, we want to step on this lift. We're going to get to the top here. Loot this item. I believe it's Antidote. Yep. And go ahead and open this door before you do anything else. Don't ever forget to do that. That would be so tragic. And then talk to, I think this guy's name is Walter with a V, like Walter, but with a V. Okay, so joining the league, this is definitely like a guild, a clan, a covenant, however you want to call it. This will give you a sigil or a rune. A rune, I guess. I can't remember the exact terminology for it, but it only benefits you in co-op. So if you plan on playing co-op, it's great. It's nice to have. There's no real harm, as far as I can tell, to join the league. So go ahead and join. Yes. This guy's so serious. So serious. All right. So what we're going to do now is head to the left. We're going to hit this lamppost. Go back to the Hunter's Dream. We got some spending to do. By the way, to get back there, we visit the second tombstone, and it's Forbidden Woods. Okay, so first and foremost, we want to make sure that we've got our best stuff equipped. So we'll look at Blood Gem Fortification. We're using the Hunter's Axe. So right now we can see our first one is Physical Attack up 5.3. This is a lesser physical attack, but it adds a poison. The axe is blunt, so this is a nice choice to consider using that. We'll go to the second slot here. We've got physical attack up 7.3. Physical attack, physical up at full hit point, 2.7%. This is also good to have, so we're definitely keeping that one. Go to our third slot, and we probably have an upgrade here. So let's compare things. Don't care about arcane. Just attack in general up 9.1. That's great. The rapid poison effect would probably be good if we had a weapon that would make more sense for that. We're not going to utilize that on this character, so this is definitely a good upgrade here. All right. And we can also throw something better on our blunderbuss, potentially. Now, this is nice because we've got this gradual hit point regeneration on our secondary weapon. I'd much rather have that because we're not using our shotgun to deal blood tinge damage and stuff like that. So it really doesn't matter at this point. Now, if we were using a pistol and had a different type of build, maybe we'd consider something else, but we'd also be upgrading that enough to have another slot open in general. So don't care too much about that at the moment. Now what we want to do is fortify as best we can. Hunter's Axe is maxed out currently for us. Kirk Hammer, since we're going strength for the most part, we're going to just upgrade whatever we can when we can. Now that these two are using the same upgrade material, we're going to hold off from the Kirk Hammer and focus on the Hunter Axe. Again, we can switch to our secondary weapon. We can improve our blunderbuss. I want to make the pistol better because we're going to end up needing that in certain situations where we need a longer ranged damaging weapon. So we want that to be somewhat effective, especially if we have to try to stagger like a boss that's very tall or at a distance. Using a shotgun for that is nearly impossible. So we need some variety in certain use case situations. Let's go ahead and check this merchant out real quick. Make sure that there's nothing that we want to buy here. Whenever we have insight, we want to consider spending it like we've talked about in the past. If we have a certain level of insight, the game will kind of change for us. We'll be able to see things, hear things. Certain enemies will be around that we didn't see before. Some might be tougher. So you just kind of want to, I would suggest your first playthrough to keep your insight very low. And I'm talking about the eyeball in the upper right-hand corner. You want to keep that, I would say, below 10 at all times. And then in second playthroughs, maybe third playthroughs, go for a high insight level and see how things change. I think that's a big incentive for replayability with this game. So definitely would consider that. Let's check our inventory. I want to see all the weapons that we've got. We're going to start buying the rest of them. So we've got rifle, Kirk hammer, hunter axe, and saw. Obviously the nitrous. Okay, so let's see here. We need the saw cleaver, threaded cane, holy blade, stake driver. Surprising because maybe we just had the opportunity to buy these, but felt like I had those for some reason. All right, and now let's see what we've got on the range side of things, secondary weapons. Okay, so let's purchase Ludwig's rifle. See how expensive the cannon is, and we just picked that up. We should have the flame sprayer, right? We definitely should. I know I taught you guys how to get that. Let's double check. Yeah, we do. Okay, perfect. All right, so last thing we're going to do, we should have enough blood echoes to level up once after spending all that. Yep, we do. So let's go ahead and bump up strength. Perfect.
Farewell, good hunt.
You know, outside of a few early mistakes and just simple combat stupidity stuff, we had a pretty good episode here, so I'm glad that we got that accomplished. The real challenge is the next episode, but we did a good chunk of it today, so I'm feeling a lot better about that. And I'll hopefully get the next episode out to you guys very quickly. Please consider joining the YouTube channel on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. That's when I stream. This is Eastern Standard Time. It could fluctuate, I would say, anytime between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. start times, up until usually midnight or 1 a.m. But if you're a member of the Discord, you'll always know when we're going live. And I try to put the events on YouTube, so check out the events every once in a while on the channel, and make sure to click the bell icon so you can actually get the alerts when something's going on. Always appreciate you guys hanging out. Look forward to the next one. Peace!